having a fair out here. It's very cool. So this house was built back in 1864 by a man named John May. And it only had, I think, 4 rooms in it to begin with. And then Dr. Springer came in, or Stringer, I'm sorry. I keep calling him Springer. I must be thinking Jerry Springer. Anyway, he came in and built another, got it up to like 11 rooms and had his doctor's office here where he cared for people with smallpox and yellow fever. There's a drone over my head, so I'm sorry about the buzzing. Can you imagine bringing people into your home that have yellow fever and smallpox? I wouldn't want them anywhere in my house. I'm going to give you guys a shot of what the outside of the house looks like here. Just gorgeous. Obviously, you can see it's Queen Anne from the Victorian era. It's got these 2 large wraparound verandas. This home had been condemned for a long time until they came in and saved it. And they do special things like this all the time in order to preserve it. And right now it's been sinking into the ground, so that's why they've been doing the tours out here, because they're trying to get it so that it's back up again. And I think they said it was like $45,000 worth of work they need to get done. It's just gorgeous. And of course, you gotta love the southern setting we have down here with the live oaks and the Spanish moss, the resurrection fern all over it. I mean, isn't this just a gorgeous home? They do ghost tours here every Friday and Saturday, as the woman was saying, and you also can do group hunts. So I'm thinking sometime some of you guys need to come down here to Florida and we can get this house and do a hunt together. Wouldn't that be fun? I think I just have to have 10 of us and we're considered a group. And this is why I'm glad when they do haunted tours and things like that, because they save some of these gorgeous homes. Otherwise, this would have just been torn down. Can you imagine? I also was told that there is a cemetery back here somewhere, and that they have a couple of time capsules back here too. So it looks like this one's going to be opened in 2044 and the other one in 2100. Where was the cemetery back here? See it. So this is a family cemetery that they have back here. Interesting lamb. I don't think I've ever seen one like that before. It's called the Lamb of God. Cool. So that was basically a complete 360 of the house.
Babies, a bunch of slaves, and a whole plantation. And she runs the whole show by herself for the next 9 years. When the war was over, this guy right here, he was a local boy named Frank Saxon. He managed to survive the war, and he came back to Brooksville, and the first thing he did was marry Marina May. And they lived together in this house. Well, they had 2 children. A little boy who was very sickly when he was born, and he didn't survive 5 weeks. She got pregnant again, and this time she delivered a baby girl. And they named this baby girl Jessie May Saxon. If you don't remember one other thing about your tour here today, you remember that name. When you go home and you look on the internet for Jessie May Saxon, you'll be surprised. She's very, very famous. Marina died 3 weeks after Jessie was born. The child had fever. So that
information about himself. That's how we knew it was him in this room. And he was very angry at first. He used to throw things off the dresser. He would knock things down off the wall. It didn't seem like he actually wanted to hurt anybody. He just seemed like he was angry and frustrated. And he would just, and things would come off the dressers. Eventually he calmed down. He doesn't do that much anymore. What he likes to do now is touch the women. We've had quite a few women in this room have been touched. You'll feel a little pat here on your hip area, or the butt area. He's also been known to tug on the back of your hair. We've had quite a few women just today that have felt their hair being pulled. We have another story. One night the alarm went off in the museum. The sheriff gets notified automatically. He came by his patrol car that night. He drove around the house. Everything appeared to be okay, locked and secured. He didn't see anything open. But he was waiting for the curator to come to open up the museum. They could come and make sure nobody was in the house. He drove around a second time, looked up in this window, and he saw a soldier standing there in this window. The curator arrived at that time. She didn't see it. She unlocked the door, and the sheriff was like, I'll wait here. He would not come in the house. The curator came in by herself, went through all the rooms. Of course, there was nobody in the house. The house was empty. Everything was fine. We don't know what set the alarm off. We did catch an apparition. We believe it's James in this picture here. Let's see my flashlight again. This is the upstairs porch area with the 2 windows. Right in the middle here, standing on the porch, is an apparition. We believe it to be James. Isn't that cool? The activity has really picked up lately in the house. And that's probably due to the construction. We're shoring up the foundation downstairs. Whenever we do any kind of repairs, and we're also getting ready for a Halloween haunted house.
I won't take that away from them. We got a fan, it's awesome. Huh? Flo, did you say something about the floor? No. Yes. That level will be the hottest that will be, and then you'll push it out, and you'll appreciate the information. Hi guys, my name is Danielle. Welcome to the communications room. This is my domain. You guys are stuck here now. So if you guys take any pictures that I'm in them, hi. You guys know my name. Danny, either or. We do have a piece of paranormal equipment in this room. This lovely little REM pod, vibration REM pod here. This picks up vibrations anywhere here, so crazy. It just picks up little vibrations that we may not know. If you are doing a session, you're focusing on different things. You may not be hearing everything or focusing on everything because you can't focus on every single little thing that you couldn't. Great, but you couldn't. Hi, nice to meet you. So if you're looking for EVPs, you may not be listening for the little footsteps that you could hear, so that could help you. That could alert you that there's vibrations, and you turn around and go, oh wait, what's that? It kind of reminds me of like what a dog whistle should sound like to a dog, because of the annoying high pitch kind of talking. So this is our communications room. As you look around, you can see different types of communication things. There's a telephone booth, a pink bag, and there's mine. Sorry guys, it's the only where I hit it. There's not that much places to hide things in here. We have rotary phones. We have a 2-person switchboard and a 1-person switchboard in the phone booth. books. If you had any family that lived in Brooksville before the 1970s, they could still be in there. My grandparents missed it by like a few years, which I'm still very angry about. Why couldn't she just move to Chicago, from Chicago like 3 years earlier wouldn't have been. So in 1856, this would have been a master bedroom. This would have been it for the Mays and would have been it for the Saxons. They did not have hospitals back then, so this is most likely where John died. John did get diagnosed with consumption, which is tuberculosis now. So once he got it, he was just that was it. Morena, on the other hand, wherever she gave birth, it could have been this room, it could have been that room. Sometimes when they gave birth, it was most of the time it was in the child's room. It was wherever it happened. You can't really control it. So it was whatever bed she was in. It could have been either or. It's not like in the courthouse where they wrote down where Jessie was born and everything. That'd be great. It'd make our docent lives a lot easier when we research, but they didn't think of it. They never knew that their house would be a museum. Would have been. So there are 4 people buried on this property with unmarked graves. There is John May. There is Morena May / Saxton. There is Jessie May Saxton, and then there is little Franklin Jr. So their graves are unmarked. We don't know where they are. They could be from anywhere where the vendors are now to our memorial birds, even the other part of the house. We don't know. It's just they didn't mark graves because of grave robbing. We don't know what they could have been buried with. You're good. Jessie could have been buried with her favorite stuffed animal. And that's what when they buried people, they kind of buried them with things that they loved. If a woman loved her jewelry and they could put her with her favorite jewelry, and people would want to steal that. It's just what they did. Some people still do it today. It's just things that they just didn't want to get robbed. And it also makes me think of Frankenstein. Also pharaohs, like Frankenstein with grave robbing, with stealing body parts, which is not good. But pharaohs, when their pyramids or tombs were built, the workers would actually make ways to get back in there once it was sealed, so they can go and steal all the jewels. If you look at some of the facial features, they are similar to Frank's. We believe that this is Frank Saxton. It was taken by mistake. The paranormal team turned around with their whole night vision camera, took one picture, and they're like, "Hey, we got something!" And it is the original pictures in our book thing. This is a blown up version, so it's easier for you guys to see. Sometimes when you take pictures, if you look back at them, you always gotta look closely in them. Not too closely, because sometimes our minds can play tricks on us, but you never know what you can catch. Watch the menu, it gets a lot smaller.
Alright, we're gonna have to squeeze in real quick. This is why we like to keep our tours small, because we got tiny, tiny rooms like this. Is there more coming up?
Yes,
Okay. I don't want to leave anybody behind.
there's still
Okay, no problem. Yes, it is. So we all gotta squeeze in real quick, try and move to the center of the room if possible. If you look directly above you, there's a plexiglass panel. Directly above that is the 4th floor. That's what they would refer to as the widow's walk or a cupola. Most likely it was used for ventilation. However, if there was a young, heartbroken soldier that has just lost the love of his life and he feels that he cannot go on anymore, it is very possible that he would have walked up this very staircase with a rope in his hand, went up to the 4th floor, tied it around the top beam, and he could literally step right off of that ledge. Now follow me, please. Watch your step right here. Good news, we have a fan. Feel free to stand in front of it. Feel free to walk around and take pictures as I'm talking. That way we don't have to make you sweat for too long. This is our attic. It's not your typical Florida attic. We do believe that it could have very possibly been servants' quarters at the time of the Stringer family. They were all doctors and lawyers, so they had a lot of money. If all the windows are open, as high up as we are, there would have been plenty of light and plenty of ventilation. There's a large balcony outside of that window, and there's also an end table built into the wall. Good indicators that people were staying up here for something other than storage. This is the hottest part of the house right now. It's also the most active part of the house. Because we have over 11,000 donated artifacts within the walls of the museum, we probably have quite a few spirit attachments. One of which is this 1890s theatrical or dresser style trunk that's standing right in this corner. We believe that there is a male entity attached to it. We get all kinds of activity up here. People call him Mr. Nasty. Everybody else calls him Gary. He's not evil, demonic, anything like that, but I believe that if you're a jerk when you're alive, you're going to be a jerk when you're dead.
Great news for our family.
So he's our cranky, sarcastic, moody prankster. I have had grown, muscular, tattooed men run out of the house screaming because they feel like they got tapped on the shoulder and they were not prepared for this. So you never know what's going to happen at any given moment. I've actually had more experiences during the day than I had at nighttime. We get EVPs constantly. Some of them say get out. Others contain various curse words. That's our Gary. And we just deal with him. So I don't want to walk in front of everybody's pictures. But whenever you're ready, we're going to go back downstairs. It is hot, so I do apologize. That's why I'm already sweating.
What'd you say? You have a painting?
It was one of the very first rooms that Dr. Sheldon Stringer added onto the house when he did the renovations in 1880 or so. He did so, if you notice, it was pretty smart of him, that there was a long hallway separating the doctor's office from the rest of the house. And then there were pocket doors closing off the office and the living space, so that the patients did not interfere with his family at all. So the patients will come into the front door, wait in the hallway, be seen, and then go out that door right there. So this office was not only used by Dr. Sheldon Stringer, but also his son, Dr. Sheldon Stringer Jr. became a physician. So it was in use from the 1880s through the 1920s. And right around that time, there were a lot of diseases happening that there was nothing that people could do about. It was the time of the Spanish flu epidemic. There was tuberculosis that was common. Even a regular infection got out of hand quickly. So people did not come to the doctor for a cold or a sore throat. They came for something big and serious. So we can only imagine how many people came through here being told, just to be told there was nothing that we can do to help you, and send them home to die, and knowing that there was nothing that they can do. So the one thing that we do have in the room, which I find fascinating, is that table. That table is from the Brooksville Hospital. It is an operating table. It has an X-ray machine above it. It's for childbirth, for the stir, and it was a regular examining table also. This way made everything out of the way. So that table we know people are born on. We also know through, surgeries were not as safe as they are now. We know that people also died on that table. We just don't know have an exact number. We have a lot of really interesting artifacts in this room. One of the is on that white table over there. There are surgical buttons. They're actually buttons. And the physician, if there was an incision, the physician would go ahead and sew up the incision with sutures, but then sew buttons on either side of it, and then pull those buttons tight together so that the incision did not open up. Which to me I find very bizarre.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, a lot of the bottles here
And I'm like, okay, they have something.
show some of the older medications that we would hand out. Turn of the century, if you had a cough, they would give, the doctors would give you heroin.
Yes, I was like, Laura, I can't.
Now, we also have our barber's chair. The reason why we have that in the physician's office is because barbers had instruments that were sharp enough to do small surgeries, and they were cheaper than a regular physician. So they were able to do, so you wanted something removed from your skin, or you needed an extraction, smaller surgeries they could do. So outside their shop, if their barber pole was red and white, that meant blood and bandages, and they could do small surgeries. If their pole was blue and white, that meant they could only do haircuts. They were not able to do the surgeries. Also, a rural physician many times would also take care of animals. They didn't have a vet to take care of the animals.
It's an old baby incubator. Old wheelchair.
I know. That's what I should do.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
This is a Confederate flag. This is not. This is a metal flag. It's not a Confederate flag. That's the actual Confederate flag. So, that's probably the biggest thing that sticks out in military and everything I'm cracks up about. The other thing is our oldest artifact in here is actually from the 1600s. It's a naval cannon, and that is, without a doubt, one of the very few left in not only the country but the world. We have military uniforms from every branch of service, and we're trying to date them back as far as we can. This one actually is from the New York Artillery, which is very, very rare. This one, actually, is just one of my favorites. I just think it's cool because it's a women's uniform from like the 1940s to 1945s in Europe. It's one of ours, but they wore the theater there. And so, for me, those are probably like my few favorite things. But I will tell you, my first experience here was with James. When I came on my very first tour, we were kind of walking through all the rooms, and I get touched right above my rear end. And I look at the, I had my brother with me, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go start taking my big brother to protect me, because a lot of good that's gonna do, right? So I look at my brother, I was like, yeah, you got jokes, that's cute, thanks. So I take a couple steps to the side, and then it happens again. And I was like, oh, this is great. A couple steps to the side, it happens again. And at this point, the docent can like see me sidestepping out of the room, and she's like, "You touch your butt?" I was like, just north," and she goes, "Yeah, it's James. He loves the blondes." And I was like, "Awesome! Can't get a date in real life. When I die, I'm so golden right now." That was probably my first real experience that I had in the house. I would say the most deliberate experience I had was with the little girl. Her name was Jessie May. So we actually have the rods that you ask questions to. And if it's a yes, they cross. If it's a no, they go apart. So we're all kind of sitting on the floor and everybody's kind of having a very casual conversation and we're asking, "Do you mind us being in the house?" And she's like, "No, I don't mind at all." Basically was her response, "Do you like when we touch your dolls?" Does not like when you touch the dolls. Definitely a no-no. And then the docent, after about 10 minutes of us just having very overall bland conversation, just looks at me and I'm holding the rods and she goes, "Jessie May, can you point the rods to where you're sitting?" One rod doesn't move, the other rod points and turns directly at my lap. But at that moment I realized I was not meant to be in this house for very long. I was like, "I'm good. I think I've had my experience for the day. That was definitely worth it. Thank you." And it was a little while before I came back, but then I came back and I started being a docent and having this awesome experience and getting to see all these really cool things. You can come to this house 25 times, you can have 25 different experiences. Every single time you come, it's something totally different. So, one of my favorite things is when the house is quiet, because then you can really hear everything, which is so cool, because sometimes you'll hear like the little leather shoes walking around upstairs, or you'll hear women like sitting around like in a circle, just you can't really make out what they're saying, but 200 years later, here we all sit in circles talking still. So, ladies know. But it really is cool to see because you get this whole experience. You really get to see something different every time. And so for me, that's kind of my favorite thing is when, everything kind of becomes quiet and you can just sit and listen to the house. I will say, my first time I was a docent here on tour, we're upstairs. And everybody's in Jessie May's room. And the other girl that's with me is also a new docent. And we're sitting outside the hallway, and every sound we hear, we just look at each other. "Did you hear that?" She's like, "Yeah, I heard that." It's like, "Okay." "Did you see that?" "Yeah, I saw that." "Okay." He starts to be like, But then after a while, you get very comfortable with it. You hear the sounds, you hear the noises, kind of the difference. When you hear the little kids, that's really cool. I will say, this is probably the coolest story I've ever heard. When Bonnie told us that she was doing a tour a while ago, and they had a gentleman that had actually lived in the house as a child, as an 8-year-old kid, come back and do the tour as an adult. Those are probably the coolest stories ever. Just his experience, the perception of seeing it through an 8-year-old's eyes. And she took him on a private tour, and some of those stories, it'll get your attention. But, if you guys have any questions, if there's anything you want to know, please feel free to ask. You're more than welcome to look around and take pictures, or y'all can head into the kitchen and she'll take you to the next room. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
Let's ask if we've done this, because
yeah, I'm ready to take it.
This is the kitchen. Let me show you this first. This is a picture that a lady took on a tour. This is her friend, and that was another lady that was in the group. When the woman took this picture, when she looked at it on her phone, she was pretty sure she saw somebody standing there. So she took another picture, and there is an entity. That was not a lady on the tour. Bonnie has a whole album of pictures that people have taken.
Ghost picture is right here.
The lady stood here and she took over the stove here, but the doorway over there looks like someone in the doorway. And I can tell you, I'm here every Tuesday. I'm here every Tuesday and I lock up. I have never seen anything like that, so she just happened to get a picture of that. So did you want to hear a scary story?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I used to help as a ghost tourist, but I can't go up and down the stairs anymore, so I can't do it anymore. And one night, on a Friday night, I came here to give a ghost tour, and I wore a dress that was kind of low cut, so I did have some cleavage showing. And I had probably, maybe I had Italian food to eat because I did have one glass of wine. And then I came here and had a ghost tour. We were up in the attic and a lady had dowsing rods to ask questions. You know, you find water with them, but you can also ask them questions. And they can either cross for yes or open for no, whichever you tell them they do. So this lady, sitting in the attic, said, for some reason she asked, is there anyone in here that you don't want in here tonight? And the dowsing rods went whoosh, and that's pointed straight at me.
Oh.
So I just kind of laughed and I said, well, that wasn't nice. And we just went on with the tour. So the next night, because it was going to be all different people, I wore the same dress. Nobody was going to know that I wore the same dress. So I wore that dress. I did have another glass of wine with my dinner. And I come to get up in the attic with the ghost tour. And I said, let me tell you what happened to me last night. And I told them what happened. And so this other lady has the dowsing rods, and she said, is there anyone in the attic tonight that you don't want here? And they went whoosh, and pointed straight at me again. And I said, well, I can leave. And they went whoosh, and pointed to the door. So something about that, I thought, you know, I'm going to tell that story today on this ghost tour. I'm going to wear that dress. I can't find it. I think I got rid of it. So apparently I said, that's enough of that. And I don't know if it was the fact that it was low and I had some cleavage showing, or if it was a glass of wine. Because the man upstairs, the entity up in the attic, we think he was an alcoholic. So that would kind of make him mad that I could have a drink and he couldn't. And it might make somebody mad that I had, you know, maybe it was improper to have cleavage showing. I really don't know what it was. But another story that scared me, but it turns out not to be, but I had given a ghost tour on a Friday or Saturday night with a friend of mine. The people had left. The house was all locked up. It was about 10:30 at night. And so we're sitting in the entryway there talking. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody walking in the house. They're in the dining room, and then I hear them come into the parlor. And I look in the parlor, and I see a disembodied head. It's like this, floating across the parlor. I got it. It was the most I've ever been scared here. I got really scared. And it took me a few seconds to even recognize that it was Bonnie, my friend, the lady who started the ghost tours here. And the reason it looked like a disembodied head is that she was just coming from the depot where she had done a ghost tour, and she wore a black turtleneck with long sleeves. So all I see is this head coming across the room. It was very scary. I did have an entity go home with me. Bonnie always told us, be sure when you leave here, always tell the entities, you have to stay. I'm going home. You can't come home with me. You have to stay here. She's had a couple of not nice experiences by entities going home with her. So I said, okay, so I always did that. I also have seen enough scary movies that when I go to get in my car at night, I check the back seat. The boogeyman is in the back seat, right?
Yeah.
So I go, I'm at the end of a ghost tour, it's like 10:30 at night, I'm getting in my car, I look, nobody's in the back seat, I get in the car, I'm driving east on 50 toward I-75, and I'm just looking out the windshield, and in my rearview mirror, I see a man sitting in the back seat with a fedora on. You know, the old hat from the, like Frank Sinatra movie. I just grabbed down that steering wheel and I said, no, you have to go back. You cannot go home with me. And he just disappeared. I wasn't really scared, but I've even got my daughter calmed down about being scared. Because she said, Mom, I want to roll that car. And I said, no, I just held on a little tighter. Do you have any questions? No questions? Well, we are always looking for volunteers. We have guided tours during the day, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 3. And we also have the ghost tours every week, Friday and Saturday. We're always looking for volunteers, so if you'd like to come back and volunteer, we would love it. Did you get any orbs or anything in your pictures? Do you know? Yeah. So when on the last of the ghost tour, we come and meet in the dining room, and Bonnie plays the Amarola, and it is a and you wind it up, and it's wax cylinders. And Bonnie always tells people, okay, be sure you get your cameras and just take pictures up at the ceiling, because it's like the entities hear it and they come down. It's their era of music and they just come down to it. So lots of orbs like that in the dining room. Okay, this is the exit. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it.